One afternoon, Malcolm and his friends accidentally run into a group of troublemakers led by Marcus. Since Malcolm happens to wear the same shoe size as him, Marcus immediately decides he wants Malcolm's sneakers. Knowing he has no chance of fighting back, Malcolm takes off running and luckily manages to escape after a school security guard steps in. Unlike most kids in his neighborhood, Malcolm dreams of getting into Harvard. That is why he works hard to keep his grades up and carefully follows every step of the college application process. But instead of writing a personal essay like most students, Malcolm decides to write about the career of legendary hip-hop artist Ice Cube. His counselor, Mr. Bailey, thinks it is a terrible idea and tells him to change it immediately. Even so, Malcolm refuses because he truly believes the essay will help him stand out. On top of that, Malcolm also needs a recommendation from someone connected to Harvard. Mr. Bailey eventually arranges an interview with a successful local businessman named Austin Jacoby. Later that day, while Malcolm and his friends are heading home, their usual route is blocked off because a local rapper is filming nearby. With no other choice, they take a different path through an area known for gang activity and drug dealers. That decision quickly turns into a problem when two men suddenly start chasing Malcolm and his friends. Jib and Diggy manage to get away, but Malcolm gets left behind. That is when he is approached by Dominic, one of the local gang leaders. Surprisingly, Dominic does not hurt him. Instead, he simply asks Malcolm to deliver a message to a girl named Nakia, the girl Dominic has been trying to impress. When Malcolm arrives at Nakia's house, he finds her struggling with her math homework. Since Malcolm is naturally smart, he helps her solve several problems before eventually mentioning Dominic's birthday party invitation. To Malcolm's surprise, Nakia agrees to go, but only if Malcolm comes too. At first, Malcolm wants nothing to do with it because he knows the party will probably be filled with drugs and gang members. But Jib and Diggy convince him that it could be their one chance to experience something exciting before graduating high school. After enough convincing, Malcolm finally gives in, and that was his first mistake. This is dope. The party is being held at a nightclub, which becomes another problem since none of them are old enough to enter. Luckily, Malcolm comes up with a plan to sneak in through the side entrance by pretending they are part of the entertainment crew. Somehow, it actually works. Inside the club, Dominic welcomes them personally, and the night quickly turns wild. While Jib and Diggy get distracted by the music and drinks, Malcolm cannot stop paying attention to Nakia. It becomes obvious that he has real feelings for her. For Malcolm, the night almost feels perfect. For a brief moment, he even gets the chance to dance with Nakia. But the moment does not last long because Dominic suddenly steps in and interrupts them. Not long after that, Dominic heads off to meet one of his connections, who turns out to be a major drug dealer. At first, everything seems to be going smoothly, but out of nowhere, a group of police officers storms the place, and a violent shootout breaks out almost instantly. The entire club erupts into chaos. People start screaming and running in every direction, trying to escape before things get even worse. In the middle of the panic, Dominic quickly stuffs his drugs into a backpack to keep them hidden. Moments later, he hands the bag to Malcolm and tells him to get out of there immediately. With more police cars arriving outside, Nakia decides she is not staying any longer. She grabs Malcolm and the two of them leave the club together before the situation spirals completely out of control. On the way home, the two finally get a chance to talk properly. Malcolm opens up about his dream of getting into Harvard and building a better future for himself. Nakia, on the other hand, admits that she simply wants to graduate and escape the neighborhood she has grown up in her whole life. The next morning, Malcolm heads to school like it is any normal day. What he does not realize is that the backpack he is carrying now contains a huge amount of illegal drugs and a loaded gun. As he walks through the school entrance, the metal detector suddenly goes off. Malcolm barely reacts, and surprisingly, neither do the security guards. They assume the machine is malfunctioning, even though the guard dog nearby keeps barking nonstop. It is not until Malcolm reaches his locker and opens the bag that the truth finally hits him. Inside are multiple packages of drugs and a pistol. Malcolm immediately panics and runs off with Jib and Diggy right behind him. None of them can believe what they are looking at. Within seconds, they realize the backpack Dominic handed over during the chaos at the club was never just a random bag. Then things get even worse. Malcolm suddenly receives a phone call from an unknown number. The caller claims to be the real owner of the drugs and orders Malcolm to hand everything over after school. Terrified, Malcolm decides he has no choice but to cooperate. But just as he is about to meet the mysterious men waiting outside the school, his phone rings again. This time, it is Dominic. Dominic warns Malcolm that the people outside are not his men at all. According to him, they could belong to another gang trying to steal the drugs. He tells Malcolm to run and find someone named AJ as fast as possible. From that moment on, Malcolm and his friends are forced into a dangerous chase across the city. The mysterious group keeps tracking them down, and eventually Malcolm realizes they are using the GPS signal from his phone to follow him. Thinking quickly, he tosses the phone onto a passing bus, finally throwing the pursuers off his trail. After escaping the men chasing them, Malcolm heads to AJ's house. But AJ is still at work, leaving only his 2 kids at home, Jaleel and Lily. Since they are around the same age and Jaleel is also into music, the group quickly gets along. Before long, Malcolm and his friends are even invited to record music together. As the hours pass and AJ still has not returned, Jaleel suggests going out for lunch with everyone. Malcolm decides to stay behind instead, choosing to wait at the house with Lily. Once they are alone, Lily starts flirting heavily with Malcolm. The situation quickly gets out of control, and Malcolm becomes so distracted that he does not even notice Lily taking the drugs from his bag and using them herself. Under the influence, Lily suddenly becomes reckless and completely unpredictable. Right in the middle of the chaos, Malcolm realizes something that makes him panic even more. His college interview with Austin Jacoby is starting in less than 20 minutes. The moment Lily hears Malcolm needs to leave urgently, she suddenly becomes serious and offers to drive him there herself. Meanwhile, at a nearby restaurant, Jaleel, Jib, and Diggy are confronted by the same gangsters who had been chasing Malcolm earlier. The men demand the drugs back and start threatening everyone at the table. Jaleel has no idea what is really happening, but he refuses to back down. Trying to act tough, he pulls out a gun. Unfortunately, things immediately go wrong. While showing off, he accidentally points the weapon at his own leg, causing panic and chaos throughout the restaurant. At the same time, Lily is driving so recklessly that she can barely control the car. Then, in the middle of traffic, she suddenly jumps out at a red light and abandons the vehicle entirely. Not wanting to miss the interview, Malcolm has no choice but to take over the car himself and drive straight to Austin Jacoby's office. Along the way, he spots Jaleel speeding through the streets while desperately trying to escape from the police. When Malcolm finally arrives at the office, he is told to wait because Austin is still busy meeting with clients. While sitting there, Malcolm notices several framed photos around the room. Some of them include Dominic and other teenagers from the neighborhood. Then he sees pictures of Jaleel and Lily too. That is when everything suddenly clicks in Malcolm's mind. The mysterious AJ Dominic mentioned is actually Austin Jacoby himself. After finally meeting him face to face, Malcolm learns the ugly truth. AJ has been running a youth community program, but the entire thing is just a cover for a much larger drug operation. Most of the teenagers involved are secretly working for him in the drug trade. When Malcolm brings up the drugs Dominic gave him, AJ immediately refuses to take them back. He makes it clear that he only wants money, not the product itself. At that point, Malcolm realizes he is trapped. AJ begins threatening him directly and makes it clear that if Malcolm causes any problems, his dream of getting into Harvard will be destroyed before it even begins. The next day, Malcolm finally tells Jib and Diggy everything that happened with AJ and the drugs. The problem is obvious. None of them are gangsters, dealers, or criminals. They are just 3 nerdy teenagers trying to survive a situation way beyond their control. At first, they have absolutely no idea what to do. Selling the drugs on the street would almost certainly get them arrested or killed. But in the middle of the argument, Malcolm suddenly comes up with an idea. Instead of selling drugs the traditional way, they could sell them online through the dark web and use Bitcoin for payment. That is when they remember someone they met years earlier during a CB band event. His name is William, a college student studying information technology who also happens to be heavily involved with drugs himself. Malcolm reaches out to him for help, and William immediately becomes interested in the plan. In exchange for a small share of the drugs, he agrees to teach them everything they need to know. Before long, the 3 teenagers are learning how the entire operation works. First, William teaches them how to properly weigh the drugs and turn the powder into smaller packages in pill form. After that, they photograph the products to create listings for their online store. Finally, William builds a Bitcoin account and a fully functional website where customers can place orders anonymously. Once everything is ready, William hands Malcolm a flash drive containing all the important files, usernames, and passwords needed to run the business. To avoid suspicion, Malcolm decides to manage the operation directly from school. He signs up for activities that allow him access to the campus facilities, while Jib and Diggy join the Google Science Fair as a cover so they can freely use the science labs after class. From that point on, their school secretly becomes the headquarters for an online drug empire. The chemistry lab is used to package and weigh the drugs. The quiet computer lab becomes their marketing and order management center. Even the music studio where they normally rehearse with their band turns into a storage and shipping room for outgoing packages. To attract customers, William throws a party at his house and invites Malcolm's band to perform. During the event, he quietly promotes the drugs to everyone there. Almost overnight, the business explodes online. Things become even crazier after a viral video of Lily acting completely out of control while high starts spreading everywhere. The clip accidentally becomes free advertising for the drugs Malcolm is selling, making demand skyrocket even more. Soon, orders start flooding in every single day, keeping Malcolm and his friends constantly busy with packaging and deliveries. Then, one afternoon after school, Malcolm gets an unexpected visit from Nakia. She reminds him about the promise he made to help her study so she can pass her diploma exam. For Malcolm, it feels like the best possible surprise. He becomes genuinely excited to teach her math and starts helping her work through different formulas and problems he already knows well. But after their study session ends, the mood suddenly changes. Nakia casually mentions that Dominic has been asking about Malcolm lately. The moment Malcolm hears that, paranoia immediately takes over. Instead of feeling happy to see her, he starts suspecting that Nakia only got close to him because Dominic sent her. A few days later, Malcolm and his friends are scheduled to take the SAT exam at school, one of the most important requirements for getting into Harvard. But right before the test begins, Malcolm notices a group of police officers conducting a routine drug search around the campus. The moment he sees them, panic immediately kicks in. Malcolm quickly excuses himself, rushes to his locker, and grabs the bag containing the drugs before the police dogs can reach it. Luckily for him, the search team has not checked his area yet, allowing him to hide the evidence just in time and return to finish the exam. Several days later, Malcolm's entire drug supply is finally gone. The only thing left is a small amount reserved as payment for William. Now all that remains is collecting the money. Since transferring Bitcoin directly into a bank account could leave a digital trail, Malcolm asks William for another solution. William then introduces him to a man named Fidel, someone who can exchange the Bitcoin for cash in person. Without wasting time, Malcolm heads to Fidel's garment business. At first, Fidel tries to intimidate him, clearly testing whether Malcolm is capable of handling this kind of world. But eventually, Fidel agrees to help and converts part of the Bitcoin into $10,000 in cash. Unfortunately, Malcolm's problems are far from over. Right after leaving Fidel's place, Malcolm is suddenly ambushed by Marcus and his crew. They attack him and steal the bag full of money. But this time, Malcolm is no longer the same timid kid from before. Still carrying Dominic's gun in his backpack, Malcolm pulls it out and points it directly at Marcus, forcing the gang to back off. The next day, Malcolm heads to AJ's office and hands over all the cash he managed to collect. AJ is immediately disappointed, claiming the amount is nowhere near enough. That is when Malcolm reveals the truth. The rest of the money, more than $100,000, is still stored as Bitcoin. At first, AJ thinks Malcolm is bluffing, but then Malcolm explains something even more shocking. The entire online drug operation, including the Bitcoin accounts and website, was secretly created using AJ's personal identity. Weeks earlier, Malcolm had quietly sent William to hack into AJ's office database and steal his information. The moment AJ realizes what happened, he becomes completely trapped. For the first time, Malcolm finally has power over him. AJ can no longer threaten or manipulate Malcolm because exposing the operation would destroy AJ's entire life and reputation. Before leaving, Malcolm makes one final demand. He wants AJ to use all of his influence and connections to make sure he gets accepted into Harvard. Otherwise, every piece of evidence linking AJ to the Bitcoin accounts and the online drug business will be leaked. After all the chaos, Malcolm's life slowly starts returning to normal. He begins writing his final Harvard application essay, but this time, instead of writing about a celebrity, Malcolm chooses to write an honest social critique about the stigma and stereotypes faced by Black teenagers growing up in dangerous neighborhoods. As graduation approaches, Malcolm finally gathers the courage to invite Nakia to prom. But on the night of the dance, she never shows up. Surprisingly, Malcolm does not let it ruin his night because he still has Jib and Diggy beside him. Then later that evening, when Malcolm returns home, he finds Nakia waiting outside his house. She came to thank him personally after passing her diploma exam with his help. Before leaving, she invites Malcolm to another party. And not long after that, Malcolm finally receives the letter he has been dreaming about all his life. He has officially been accepted into Harvard. So the moral of the story is never bully the nerd for his shoes because he might accidentally turn homework, Bitcoin, and panic into a Harvard scholarship.